they say all men are created equal. Shot! Master! I'll pull out the Glock! Full of suffering, succotash, son!
One of your nuts is hanging out of your shorts.
Real glass!
You have a father, but your father's dead.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Too Sweet podcast with Lucy and Estelle, back again with another Dynamite review. So yeah, last time we were here with an all-out review, so it's kind of, we're sort of following on from that, and it's all the fallout from that. So I think maybe because of that, this episode was a little bit all over the place. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what you think about this one, Estelle. So yeah, I guess we'll just jump straight into it.
Yeah, I mean, even before watching it, I saw online people like rants like on YouTube, and people not being overly impressed with it. I thought like, oh, it can't be that bad. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, I haven't watched those videos because I've just literally watched it and we're on here straight away. But I think I can guess where some of these frustrations are going to be.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I think all over the place is a great way of surmising it. We'll get there when we get to these segments, for sure. So jumping straight in, opening up, we got these sort of candid shots of Mox and the attack that was launched on Danielson. He was shown, backstage being stretched out, and cut in between was sort of this promo of Mox saying that Danielson don't have the stomach for this, and yeah, and then Darby was seen skating backstage, so obviously setting out. I mean, it was announced prior to this Dynamite that Mox was going to be there to explain his actions towards Danielson, so it was a pretty fun hook, pretty fun opener to the show, I thought. No complaints there from me.
Yeah, it was very different to usual. Like, we didn't have it like Excalibur jumping in with the it's Wednesday and all that means. It was just like very cinematic, this whole thing. So, and I think obviously that was probably the biggest talking point from All Out, so it was great to open straight up with that.
Yeah, I feel like this is like the only thing that sort of is carried on that sort of dark tone, because when it started, I had that similar feeling of uneasiness from All Out, but then that was gradually lost throughout the show because of the choices that they made. I'm not sure that was the right decision. I think they built up like such a great atmosphere from All Out that yeah, but we'll get to that. So next up, we had Shivani. He was in the ring. This is a bit more typical of Dynamite. Christian Cage comes out, and this was a very vanilla promo. He was just like, I've got my sights on the title. I'm coming for you, Danielson." And Kip Sabian was front row. But it was very. I didn't have an issue with it, of course. Like it just did what it needed to do, and it set out his intentions, which have been a little bit murky, like how he aligns with everything else that's going on around Danielson's personal life at the moment with the BCC drama. But yeah, it wasn't like, oh my God, this is like a red hot program. I can't wait to see Christian Cage and Danielson go at it. And then Kip Sabian being, I keep wanting to call him Crip Sabian for some reason. Kip Sabian at the front, like, clap if you care. It's just,
Yeah.
it wasn't the most inspiring thing.
No, it wasn't. And like, I know it technically didn't open the show, but it pretty much sort of did. It was the first thing we saw like in the ring, I guess. So yeah, it just like wasn't what you normally see from Christian. Like you said, it was pretty vanilla. But he said something about Brie, didn't he? And like, you're gonna wish she had a CTE, so she didn't get to witness you having to wrestle again or something. Which that was like the only cold line in the whole thing, and it's sort of like, you've got this contract. Do something with it. Do something. Poking him with a stick. Do something. So yeah, it was just kind of skippable, really. Like, if you didn't watch this, you didn't miss anything. He didn't really say anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it was just fine. And you expect a lot more of Christian than that, but
I'll tell you
yeah,
what I do like though is how we've got many different routes all leading to Danielson. And
yeah,
there's it really could be anyone who ends up ending his career, and I do like that. It's not linear. It's sort of like lots of people have got a stake to have a championship match with him, and we'll talk about that later on as the show progresses. But that was, I think this was maybe my main takeaway from this segment was it's quite unpredictable the way it could go because you've got so many people who want a match with him, but you've also got Christian who's got this contract, so you gotta like you gotta keep your eyes open. You gotta keep watching because you don't know what when he might swoop in.
Yeah, that's a great point. And definitely a fair compliment to give, not knowing who's going to take it, and that's when the title's enjoyable and when it feels hot and when it feels important.
Yeah.
But it's not even just like you say, it's not even just about taking the title, it's about ending uh Danielson's career almost and having ending that legacy. So yeah, for sure, that's a good takeaway. Next up we got Takeshita, Kyle, Don Callis, which I'm assuming these are just the Callis family now. I mean, I guess like I don't know what Hobbs.
Yeah, I guess.
I feel like
Yeah.
I read that he was out injured, but I don't know if I'm making that up.
There must be a reason. There must be something like that. I think
Yeah, yeah, and Osprey as well. Essentially later on in the night, there's going to be a casino gauntlet battle royale for the tag teams for a shot at the tag titles at Grand Slam against the Bucks. This sounds pretty exciting, pretty fun. The prospect of it sounded
Mm.
fun at least. Um, and Don Callis says that Kyle and Will should team for the casino gauntlet. Takeshita the whole time is just giving a massive side eye, sold his irritation very well. And Callis brought up the favour, so obviously now we know this is the favour. Um, yeah, like what do you think of that? Because I feel like you had high hopes. The favours. Is this the plot point that you thought we were heading towards? Just a throwaway
No,
tag team?
no, it's not. I mean, I guess it's better than it just hanging in the air for all time, and we never find out what the favour was going to be, which is what we suggested. I think it was on the last episode. Um, s- I guess in that respect, yeah, it's kind of come full circle. But why, why, why? Osprey's already a champion. I thought he wasn't. He didn't really want to align himself with Don Callis that much anyway. But I guess Kyle Fletcher is his friend, so he wants to do it for his friend Kyle Fletcher. Okay, but I I don't know. At this point, I just felt like, oh, this is just a way to get Osprey on the card on this show. We've got nothing for him. We'll just stick him in this tag team match. That was kind of my initial reaction to it, and I just felt really bad for Takeshita.
I
And he was,
think
I think that
that
was
was
the
kind of the
point.
point, though.
Yeah,
And that was like the only good thing about it is it garnered sympathy for Takeshita, and it at least shows that they do plan on sowing seeds of tension, which could mean that eventually Takeshita breaks out and does more of his own
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
So I kind of took that as a positive, but yeah, I agree. It's like shoehorning Osprey in, and Osprey has like other things going on.
yeah,
Like
right,
the title, for instance. Like he has his own title.
exactly.
Why does he need to be shoehorned into the tag division? Especially with how that match went. It just yeah, I mean it's like you want to see Osprey, you want to showcase him. And maybe it's because you want to do like a United Empire thing later down the line. I don't know, but it just I don't know, it's just like is this the best use? Is this the best way to go about this?
Yeah,
I
that
don't
that
I don't
was
know.
that was my reaction too. Yeah, I'm obviously willing to keep an open mind because Will and Kyle both great wrestlers. Um, but yeah, just my initial reaction to this was what? Okay, fine, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but then when I maybe this was another thing done on purpose, but when Kyle was like, "Oh, there's no one else I'd rather team with," I was just like, "What about your actual tag team partners, like
Fuck
Mark
that
Davis,
guy.
whose poor lad's injured, sitting at home like, fuck me, I guess."
Oh, brilliant. Uh yeah, we'll get further into this, I'm sure when we do the main event.
Hmm.
Next up was Jack Perry versus Leo Rush for the TNT title. This is when it really just started to feel like not like Dynamite. Like it started to feel very collision-y,
That's
very rampagey.
exactly what I've got on my notes at this point. The exact bullet point I've got is very collision coded. So we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, I feel like this episode, they shoehorned a lot of people in who have been getting wins and have been doing stuff on Collision. And I'm in two minds about it because I'm like, while I don't really give a
Mm.
fuck about these people, I guess I have to see them to become invested in them.
Yeah,
However, having an influx of these people all at once who I don't really care about, I don't know if I could ever really care about Leo Rush, even if he was there weekly. Do you know what I mean? I've had my time with him. I think he's a great wrestler. I think he's great in the ring, but I just don't care enough to see him on the premiere show every week. Like I just don't.
yeah,
Um, to me, he's a New Japan wrestler. He's a bit of an attraction on Collision. That's the box that I put him in, and that's how I view him as a wrestler. But it's difficult because, like I say, you want to freshen things up, but I feel like we've praised Dynamite so much for finally getting to this place of stability, finally getting to this place
consistency.
of having consistency, having an identity, to then push all these new people in. It just, I feel like we could have done it one at a time, maybe, or just have a
Exactly.
couple, maybe have some vignettes to build them up. Maybe don't just put them in a match, but put them in like more of like a storyline, make them have a reason to be here. It it was just, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. I think you're completely right. But it's like you just, especially because there were so many of them on this one show, and it, and they were all just matches, like you say. There was nothing for the majority of them really driving it. So then you sat there as the audience member being like, why do I care about this? Like, what's going on? I don't recognize this person, don't know this person. And yes, is that on us for not watching Collision? I guess, but not everyone does watch Collision, and you know it. Dynamite is the TV show, right? That's the series, so it should be coherent with last week's episode of Dynamite. But again, like you said, it's good to see new people, and obviously to get invested in new people, they've got to just put them on the show. Yeah, I get that, but just it seemed very sort of abrupt. Just like here's a match.
Yeah.
Where's the is the consequences to this? Is the build up to it and doesn't feel like it, so I don't really care.
But it's even like, because like watching Collision more consistently, and not just the highlights,
Mm.
which I've been trying to make a conscious effort to do since we watched it live. Um, it's like, but you can give it that leeway of everything you've just said of, is there a consequence? No. But then when I watch Collision, I'm like, does that matter as much? No. It's just when you try to bring that format over to Dynamite that it's a bit. I mean, in what world is Jack Perry versus Leo Rush hot? You know, Jack Perry gets like a lot of flack. He's just come off a match against Danielson. You should be continuing to present him in that space
Yeah,
against that caliber of guys, not going down to the level of Leo Rush. And for the TNT title as well. But one thing I did say, what did think about this is, uh, I'd love to see Jack Perry wrestle Jay White because I think, especially since Jack Perry's turned heel, he wrestles such a similar style to Jay White. They even wear similar attire. Come on, they got a little skinny jeans combat
yeah.
boot moment. But just the way he was wrestling in this, I love the way he like does something and then just like does a little pose, like so girly pop,
So
so
girly.
slayful. Um, but yeah, just very. I don't know. They just wrestle such a similar cowardly. It's style of like there's strikes, but it's mainly counters and reversals and outsmarting the other person. So I don't know. I just that was my takeaway from watching a match against him with Leo Rush. Is I'd like him to fight my other favorite wrestler. That's all I thought about. No, but this is a good
Valid.
wrestling match. Like I said, Leo Rush is great in ring. Um, it ended with the blindside knee strike and then a further knee strike for the victory. But at the end of the day, from this match, like yeah, I can finish it and I can be like Jack Perry's. I still love Jack Perry. Leo Rush, yeah, he's a great wrestler, but I don't want to see him again next week. I'm not clamoring for a rematch. I'm not like, oh my God, what is Leo Rush gonna do next?
Yeah,
And I know
exactly.
it's like you have to give people a chance, but this is like to me, giving people a chance. And if you can't win people over to a high amount in like a match on Dynamite, that isn't a squash match, like it was an actual
Oh
match,
yeah, it was. It was
then
quite lengthy, to be honest.
you know, with those TV minutes, was it worth giving it to him?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. And I think um I think it was Action Andretti, wasn't it, on like joining him as well. And he just got ejected because he just fucking got involved right in front of the referee and they're meant to be the baby face. It's like, why? What are you
Yeah.
doing? Just made him look really dumb. And as good as Leo Rush is, obviously in ring, and he definitely did come across well in this, like just in terms of athleticism and wrestling ability. Like it's not stuff stupid stuff like that, like his partner getting kicked out. It's not leaving a mark in any sort of way. And like you said, that is your chance. That match is that is the chance. So yeah, I think I
Yeah.
completely agree with you. It was just fine. It was fine.
And that's the thing that people always complain on both ends, like wrestlers and also fans, about this sense of like entitlement, not to be like Moxley right now, this sense of like entitlement of why does my fave not get this? Why does my fave not get that? And it's like, but your fave has got on these opportunities. It's like Miro, like what AEW don't know how to book talent, but it's like AEW's given you the minutes, it's giving you the TV time, it's giving you the
Mm.
opportunity to get yourself over. And then you look at other people like the Outrunners that haven't had
Yes,
as much
exactly.
put into them, and yet they're over. And it's like that's how it should be. Like if
Yeah,
the crowd wants you,
precisely.
the crowd wants you. It's
Yeah,
just like booking 101, surely.
that's who I was going to compare it to as well. Yeah, the Outrun.
Great minds.
They are so over.
Yeah. Post-match where Jack Perry saying people like him are crucified in this life so they can be worshipped in the next, reference to his match against Danielson. We sort of did that crucifixion pose and was put out with the psycho knee. And he left in the scapegoat bus. Not really of much mention, but pop off, I guess. It's just stuff like this of like, I enjoy it because obviously I love Jack Perry, but it's just like, why? Like, why?
What is the
What,
reason? I
what's the
like to think of
reason?
him just driving around in that in normal life, just like going to the shops and that in this massive van that says
Yeah.
scapegoat right across the top. Maybe that's
Mackey's
why, just
drive-through.
because he bought it and he just is like, I need to get my money's worth out of this. Tony,
Yeah.
I'm having it on telly. Yeah, he's at Mackey's getting his Happy Meal in that.
Then we were shown the lights out match between Hangman Swerve. Then Hangman was shown backstage with Renee, and he cut a great promo. He said he meant everything he did. Um, and he says, if you got in my way while I was trying to get to Swerve, I'm going to hurt you. So obviously that is setting out what his next objective is, because I know we've speculated on that. Then he was seen walking backstage, interacting with uh, various people of note, mainly the Dark Order. They say they don't recognize him anymore. He came face to face with a Double J. He said he's going to
Woo!
regret putting his hands on Karen. They brawled, and then Hangman was pulled off. So, yeah.
I mean, I have to say, I thought Jeff Jarrett was pretty solid in his criticism. Like, he was like, I've been in this business for so long, I've seen people go down the same path as you. And your only real enemy, the hardest person to beat, is the man in the mirror. And that's the point where he clobbered him. I was like, he's attacking him because he's right. And I really like thought this was really good. Thought like that is so just like he's so warped now that like he's just getting angry all the time. These people, his friends, they don't recognize him. They're just like, who the fuck is this guy? It's just a different guy. And then just to go off on Jeff Jarrett like that, it's a great contrast to everything he was doing before, and now he's gone all in on that. So
Well, I mean, he was going at him bloody Owen, wasn't he?
yeah, true. But he's like not even hearing him out. He's just going straight for the throat.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm into it for sure. I love a bit of Jeff Jarrett. I love him
Mm.
as a sort of role that he's been in uh recently. And I think like what's gonna happen is he's gonna have it out with Jeff Jarrett and then someone's gonna walk out and interrupt some kind of moral babyface. I don't know who is gonna be like,
Mhm.
I'm not standing for this. And that's
Yeah,
sort of the next program maybe that we go into.
yeah, most likely, most likely. Probably rather that than a full blown feud with Jeff Jarrett. Although
Oh babe, we're going to World's End for this. Best of three.
I won't be mad. I won't be mad.
Iron Man. Next up, this was really weird. I don't know whether I liked it or I hated it. Private Party came out with Commander, um, and uh, this was then interrupted as they got into the ring, with Marina Shafir. She put Commander in front guillotine, and Moxley, Pac, and Claudio went after Private Party. Pac cut the promo. He said the company's broken and he's got purpose now, and the company's theirs. So it was very like as we said before, very early Shield vibes
Yeah,
of
very.
completely disrupting the format of the show. Not it wasn't your typical attack of at the end of a match. It was right at the start,
Yeah,
and it was great because yeah, I can't say I particularly wanted to watch that match,
yeah,
but at the same time, it was kind of like weird. So I don't know if I like it or I hate it, but yeah.
yeah. I wasn't really that keen. I was just sort of like, why are you attacking these people? Like, these don't have anything to do with your agenda. Like, okay, you hate the egos in the company. You want to get the championship away from
Yeah,
Danielson.
that's such a good
Awesome.
point.
But the fuck has Private Party ever done?
Oh,
What sort of
that's so
message is this
true.
sending? I just was a bit confused. And then, you know what made me even more confused? And I don't know why my brain just glossed over this. When commentary pointed out that um, Claudio and Pac are still trios champions with Wheeler. So now fucking
Oh,
what? And I
that's really
did,
interesting though.
yeah, they pointed that out. I was like, shit, you're right. I'd have forgot about that. So it's like,
Yeah.
what do they do with them that championship now? I don't know.
Surely
This
there's
whole
got to be like
thing
some
boggled
kind
my
of
brain.
ultimatum or something.
Maybe they just do a Freebird rule and they're just like, actually, Moxley is the third guy now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah, great. Yeah. Um, then after that we had the learning tree.
Oh my
Stable,
God.
arriving. Jericho's wearing his orange dyed jacket and he's stolen Orange Cassidy's backpack. Said he'd open it later. Next up, we had, oh, fuck me, as if you didn't think it could get any worse. Ricochet versus Sammy Bloody Guevara. At this point, I just had to laugh because it just kept. It was my nightmare of a Dynamite. This, like, my personal night. I'm sure for some people, like, do you know what I mean, want that bad, but for me, it's just all the people I just can't be arsed with. And then this knobhead shows up with his stupid fucking haircut.
Oh, I hate his hair. It looks like a pineapple.
He does.
At this
He
point, I
does.
was thinking this episode is cursed.
The lost episode of Dynamite. And I was really excited for this episode as well because All Out
Yeah.
was so good, and I couldn't wait to see the fallout of the feuds. But then a lot of people weren't there. And I guess that makes sense because a lot of people probably are resting, taking a bit of time off. A lot of them were in some heavy hitting, hard going matches. But what we picked up on was like the scrappy shitty matches, like the four way and the tag title.
Yeah.
Those were the feuds we picked up on, not the red hot ones. Like
I
what?
guess most people who were on the All Out card are either in hospital or in jail.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah. Again, great, but exciting to see Ricochet. This match was pretty fast paced, as you can imagine. They spilled out onto the ramp. Sammy climbed the tunnel and he did the moonsault. That was very cool looking, but also just
It's a moonsault.
why?
Yeah.
Like he landed on his feet and it was just like why? Um,
Also, it looked like he landed funny on his foot and he sold it a little bit. And then on commentary, they're like, oh my God, he landed really badly on his foot. And then next thing you know, it's like cut into him and he's just walking and he's fine. And the commentary are like, oh, well, he's not showing any pain. And it's just like, well, why we just wasted that 30 seconds going on about this potential injury and then no, he's all right actually. Never mind.
Yeah. He was dominating the first half, so because at first when I first saw it, I thought, oh, this is just gonna be like a 60-second squash match.
Oh, no such
Wishful
luck.
thinking. Um, Ricochet did a cool spot of his own. He did the double jump senton off the barricade. He was a bit of a diva though, isn't he? He's like, move, move. I'm like, at some point, like it's just awkward now, bro. Like, just let it go. Do something else. Like, do it off the step, the silver step, something like the silver step, the steel steps. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? It was just, I just found that really awkward and a bit cringe. I don't know if that was just me.
I found quite a lot of things about this match really cringe. Um, so yeah, I agree.
Um, yeah, towards the end of the match, some really cool counters. Ricochet picked up the win. I really liked the axe kick that he did.
Yeah, that was
And
cool.
into the vertical. That was really nice. And then just when you think it can't get any more shitter, also another Sammy Guevara thing that he pissed me off with when he went to do a move and they went, "This is for you, Ty and Luna." Like, shut up! You're in a match. Like, just shut up.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
just
cringe.
drainer. Bloody Beast Mortos comes out, doesn't he? Fucking hell, with a spear, to absolute crickets. Sammy, our valiant hero, uses a chair to fight him off and helps Ricochet up.
Our
In the
knight in
front, in
shining
the front
armor.
row, they had a sign that said, "Jim will not like this." It's in Jim Cornette. I need someone to go to a show and bring Estelle will not like this. It's
Yeah.
like a sign. Because what the
Oh, I
fuck
need
with
that.
this, mate?
Need that for any Sammy Guevara match. Just whip it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Also,
Uh,
the crowd chanting what I thought they were saying fight forever, but then the commentary clarified they were saying flip forever, which I personally think is even more cringe than fight forever. Also, they were chanting this during a rest hold.
right. Right. Psst. Yeah, Sammy got some cheers as well from doing this. I was just like, no, because I thought at the start of this match, this is like, oh, they're trying to ease Sammy in still, so they're putting him against Ricochet to test the waters, but he's gonna lose the match, um, and it's gonna make Ricochet look stronger because I don't understand from this, like, taking aside all the Sammy Guevara and Beast Motos bullshit. It's like this is one of Ricochet's like first matches in AEW. I'm not saying just do like a 60-second like squash match, but similar to like do something similar to like Kyle Fletcher. And I guess
Mm.
like people might think that Kyle Fletcher and Sammy Guevara are similar wrestlers because they're both quite high flying, but Kyle Fletcher is miles above Sammy Guevara. Um, and he's come along as a single competitor in such a short space of time to the progress that knobhead's made in the fucking years that he's been on uh,
Exactly.
AEW. So don't compare the two. That's offensive to me. I'm offended. But like, why would you not? I don't know. Maybe in his mind he thinks like that is a good wrestling match. That's hot. Sammy Guevara versus Ricochet. But
Mm.
Ricochet didn't look good from coming out of this. He looked like a mug.
It
Like
just,
he,
yeah, especially, yeah, like he had to be saved at the end. And like, who asked for this match? Like, seriously, who? Ricochet's like hot shit. And I know that some people like Sammy Guevara, but like you said, I just, who asked for this?
yeah, yeah, just weird ending, weird vibes. Then we were shown the Stat versus Willow street fight. We had Okada being interviewed on the four-way. He was interrupted by Callis, who said that he didn't pin Takeshita, and they had a little showdown. So that's nice. That's probably going to happen at Wrestle Dream, I'd imagine, not Grand Slam,
Mm,
but you'd
yeah,
think you'd hope that for because that is a dream match and something I'm highly looking forward to. I thought Takeshita had great aura throughout this whole episode, to be honest with
yeah,
you. He seemed like you know what I mean? Like you were behind him and like you wanted to see him fight and then like you were edged, you were denied it twice. And I was like, oh come on, just let me see that blue Thunderball. Let me see him in
yeah.
action, man. Come on.
There, it's very understated and just very cool and
Like Takeshita versus Ricochet. That's hot shit, man.
yeah,
That's what I wanna see. This
What a
is what
great
I want to
idea. Yeah,
see.
we should have had that on the card instead.
Yeah.
But I don't think that took a genius. Oh, whatever.
Next up, we had the Mox and Darby confrontation. So Darby came out to the ring first, and he said somebody's been looking for him, and he called Mox out. He arrived just with Marina Shafir. Uh, Darby says he doesn't have anything. Uh, he didn't have anything before, his whole. So said all his law. And he doesn't take anything for granted, which is why he wrestles the way he does, which is like, I get where you're coming from, but then if you don't take it for granted, then you won't be doing it for much longer.
Yeah. I guess in his brain, he thinks, well, I could die tomorrow by getting hit by a bus. So I might as well jump off a steel cage today and nearly die, because who knows? I guess that I can sort of, from his point of view.
From his unhinged point of view.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right.
It came across as really likable after Sammy Guevara match. Maybe that's just what I need.
Yeah. It's just contrast.
Yeah. He says that when he first started, he was looking for a hero, but they all showed who they were. Mox didn't. He was authentic.
Not in it for the money.
Not in it for the money. Says that him and John met in a high school gym on the Indies. And then Mox sort of says his bit. He says that Darby did have a shot at the world title against Danielson at Grand Slam, but because they've disposed of Danielson, which didn't make sense later because of the whole Nigel McGuinness thing, but he wants him to hand over the title shot. He says, yeah, Darby's like, if you want it, you should do something about it. Mox says he'll fight him at Grand Slam instead for the world title shot. And he keeps saying throughout this whole thing, I can't explain everything. I can't explain it. There's more to this, but it doesn't actually explain it.
Yeah,
Darby
he
says
kept on saying, I don't have time. It's like, well, yeah, you do. This is your time. This is literally, you have a microphone in your hand.
he says if he wants to burn AEW to the ground, he'll put him to the fire. So this is pretty fun, pretty cool. I'm excited for the match, and I'm still intrigued about what this grand plan is. But at the same time, there's a lot of like loopholes in
Yeah.
this. I'm trying not to poke it too hard, but
I
there's a
know.
lot of like, you've said that you could dispose of Danielson, but then he's able to be in a match with Nigel McGuinness. You want him to hand over the title shot, but why can't you just
Have
let
a match.
Darby take it, win against Danielson, help Darby to win against Danielson, and then
beat
like
Darby.
beat Darby? Like there's so much.
Yeah. It's a bit. Yeah, you're right. It's
And
like if you
Mox isn't
start
usually like
thinking
that, is he?
No,
That's
it's
why it's
normally very
weird.
simple. It's straightforward, straight to the point. But if you start thinking about this too much, it's quite weirdly convoluted the way we've got to the two matches that we've got at what's it called? At Grand Slam.
Grand Slam.
And this is like just an episode of Dynamite, by the way. This is just a special episode of Dynamite. It's not actually a pay-per-view because we've got a big pay-per-view after it. Wrestle Dream on the 11th of October or something like that. So it's very convoluted, and like you said, there's lots of little gaps in it. If you start poking holes, it's not logical. It don't really make sense. But I'm just along for the ride, because who doesn't want to see Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson? But
Yeah, I thought Darby was a great promo during this as well. He's definitely come on leaps and
yeah, he
bounds.
was really good.
And the crowd being behind it when he left, and there was that little kid, and he handed him the action figure, and then they had a high five. And I'm like, we said this before, like, yeah, this is like a mascot almost of AEW. He should have his moment. But will he lose that aura of that lovable baby face? And the reason people love him is because he just does crazy shit, and he's just reckless, and he stands up for what he believes in. Is that going to get lost in this convoluted story? Like, are we going to have moments where Darby's kind of questioning? I don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But it's like you say, you just go along with the ride, and we're not shitting on it. It's just, it's that feeling of like unease, but not the good unease, not like the all out
Mm.
unease. It's like the unease of like, are
Not
you
really
just
sure where it's
making this up
going.
as you go along?
Yeah,
Like writing a fan
right.
fiction.
Mm. That's kind of how I pictured Tony Khan. So I think we've said this before. Like he's sitting in a room with the notebook, and he's like, "Right, I want to see Mox versus Bryan Danielson, but I also want Darby to have a shot, and I also want Nigel McGuinness to have a shot at the championship." And it's just like, how can I make this happen? And it's like he's on the wall with like all this crazy lines sticking to each other, and it doesn't make any sense. And he's just like, yeah, that's just how I picture him writing this. It doesn't make a whole lot, really.
Yeah, you don't get the impression that like he knows where it's going
Hmm.
next.
Yeah,
So that's just a bit, but yeah, yeah. I suppose it's like the first episode of this storyline properly um being told to us. So, we give everything a little bit of grace.
yeah, yeah,
It's
100%. And I like the people involved, and I like the characters involved. So I believe in the end the payoff is going to be very good. So that's what the way I'm choosing to look at it in an optimistic light instead of a pessimistic light. But I can understand the people who are criticizing it. I do understand it.
yeah. So we've got Christopher Daniels backstage, and he's been asked about Darby waging his title shot at Danielson for nothing, may I add as well. Like he's getting nothing out of this in return. Like he could
Yeah.
literally just turn around and be like, "No, I don't want to do that." Like, but yeah. Um, and then Nigel comes out and he says he wants a word with TK. Next up, we have Mariah May versus Queen Aminata. This is for the women's title. Um, Again, like another person. She's had some mainly squash matches on Dynamite. She gets a bit of collision time, bit of rampage time, but again, and this wasn't a squash match. There was lots of quick covers. The start was pretty good. Um, it was quite lengthy as well. It got quite
Yeah,
a bit of time.
went over two like segments, like it went over a break.
Yeah. Uh, I liked how Aminata had her striking. Her striking ability is pretty good. But Mariah May picked up the win with the Storm Zero again. Um, I did think that like in terms of wrestling that Aminata looked good, but then again it's like a Leo Rush thing. With Leo Rush, I've just seen it time and time again. It's a lot more repetitive than it is in this instance. But it's not much you can like sink your teeth into, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Clearly, she's got her own character, she's got her own sort of aura and vibe, but how much of that was shown? I can't even remember if even her entrance was shown. Uh,
Yeah, I don't think it
I don't think it
was
was.
because they had the 9/11 tribute, didn't they? And then it just went straight into Mariah May.
Well, was there even a
Um,
tribute? Because I didn't know if my stream caught because Excalibur just went rip
yeah,
and said a
no,
sentence. Was that the tribute?
that was basically it. Yeah, he said, "Oh, we blah blah blah, pay our
It was
respect."
so random. Well, it wasn't random because obviously it is the day of, and it makes sense. But
It was sort of out of nowhere.
I
It was
thought
like,
like a video was gonna play or something,
yeah,
or
so
like they
did
were gonna have
I.
some silence.
Yeah, it was like 10 seconds, if that, of silence, and then it was just glamour on the screen. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, we're just a bit abrupt.
tasteful.
Yeah,
Um, Mariah May says she hasn't had a title celebration, but she's missing someone, and she calls out Mina Shirakawa. So yeah, I believe Mina has moved over to the States from Japan now. So you'd imagine she got over uh very quickly in AEW that she's
yeah,
probably signed by now. You'd imagine, and yeah, it's it's fine.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I look forward to seeing these two,
Mm.
assumedly having a feud. So that'll probably be really good. And yeah, like you said, this match was quite good. There was nothing wrong with it, but it's just another one of them matches where you watch it and you're just like you can see the conclusion a mile off. Um, apparently, I think if I was paid attention to commentary and remember rightly, they said that Aminata wanted revenge on Mariah for something that she did to Sky Blue on Collision, and she had like
Ah, yeah,
Sky
yeah, yeah,
Blue's name
yeah,
written on her wrist tape or something.
yeah,
So at
yeah,
least there
yeah.
was that. It's better than nothing.
I suppose, but it's like, where do we go from here? Because that's like a moment that was written up quickly on Collision, but where, you know,
Yeah, like are we taking that anywhere, or was that just a vehicle for this match, which was just a vehicle for Shirakawa? So
yeah. The Bucks were backstage. They said they wanted the best tag team division, but they're still the tag team champions, so they're pulling all the weight and they'll be watching live. Then a clip of Saraya and Hater was showing it all out. Clap if you care. Then we had the Learning Tree stable versus the Iron Savages. God, this was awful. Um, the Bad Apple done it, the pinned Jericho. Um, the match I just did not give a fuck about. Did not care for the promo. At least was mildly entertaining. And he brought out the backpack, and this did get me. He had a photo of the best friends, and not only that, it was Chris Statlander as well.
yeah,
And it was just like
framed photo and everything.
the emotions, man. Um, he says there's no friends, and if you think you've got friends, you've probably been used. And then there was a nice little moment of Bill and Brian Keith looking at each other, but that passed quickly. A nice little breaking of the fourth wall. Uh, Cassidy was shown backstage, and he had Kyle O'Reilly and Matt Briscoe bring out what would you call that
A
vehicle?
digger.
A digger. A digger, that's not the right word, but we'll go with it. Full of change. They then poured into Jericho's new car,
Bentley.
and it was just. I mean, this was fun. It was a bit of fun, but like, it was a bit of fun in the fact that like I've just seen utter shite, and I'll clamour for anything.
The,
Like,
this segment on its own was like the bit after the match was probably more entertaining, like better than the match and more entertaining than the match. It's like you could have just cut that whole
100%.
match out. You could have just had this bit. And that image of Matt Briscoe and Kyle like driving that big tractor thing was really funny. I just think it would have been funny if they just crashed into the car and just fucking demolished the car. Um,
Yeah, the change thing is funny. It's more of like a troll, but then also it's
mm.
like then Jericho's like crying in the ring about his car, and it's like,
It's not even done any damage.
bro, like literally, yeah. Then we had Nigel McGuinness in the ring. Uh, he said it's convenient that Danielson shouldn't compete, but Danielson's afraid of the match, the potential match between him and McGuinness. But Tony Khan isn't. That match has been booked for Grand Slam now. Uh, yeah, I mean, what the hell do you make of that? Because that is it. Sorry, I sound like very demotivated about because I've just had to talk about utter shite for the past 20 minutes. But this is like absolutely fucking huge.
It is.
And it's just happening. Do you know what I mean? I'm not criticizing that, but it's just like we're doing this now, and it's like I don't know. It's just like surreal that we're pulling the trigger on it now. Of all, it feels random, but I don't know.
Yeah, it does sort of because like I wasn't expecting it. Obviously, like you had for so long, you've had these two. Well, not even feuded. It's been a one-sided thing. Like Nigel just talking shit about Bryan all the time. He sort of manifested this in a way. But then it sort of got to the point where you just think, oh, it's just an ongoing joke sort of thing. It's never going to amount to anything. And then we thought, okay, all in, he might get involved in the match. He wants to end his career. Makes sense. He might try and get involved. Then Nigel actually had a match to try and get that opportunity at Danielson, which he didn't win. But now we had all out and nothing was sort of said about it for a couple of weeks, and now we've come back to it, and it's like, oh shit, we're actually pulling the trigger on this, and it's like it's unbelievable in the sense that like I never thought I'd see Nigel McGuinness wrestle like before All In, let alone like now have this match with Danielson. It's crazy. I love, you know what I love about this is how Tony Khan, he really is just a wrestling fan at heart, and he's just doing anything he can to make like dream matches happen. I think that's my main takeaway from this. Um, and I'm really happy for Nigel as well. It's great that he's able to make a comeback. He was looked amazing at All In. He was in great shape. He was fantastic in the match. So I'm if you can ignore the stupid logic behind it and just be in the moment and just appreciate it for what it is, I think it's impossible not to feel something about it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because they've both spoken about this candidly that there's so much pressure going into that match, and that's why they never wanted to do it. So it'd be really interesting to see how they go about it.
Yeah.
McGuinness was in great shape, as you say, all in. He had a great showing against like Zack Sabre Jr., Okada. Uh, and I've no doubt that they will work on that match and refine it and
Yeah.
make it meet the expectations
Yeah.
of fans. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it's at Grand Slam as opposed to Wrestle Room. I understand Grand Slam, it's a special event, but yeah, it's only like 2 weeks away, so it's not a lot of build time for a feud that's been in the making for absolutely years and years and years and years and years. But
Decades even. Yeah.
yeah, it's just for me, just it hadn't even like really sunken in yet. I'm like, oh yeah, this is happening, you know.
Yeah, because in some respects it feels like it's not had time to like bake like in the oven sort of thing.
Even though it has,
But
but
it has.
as a realistic thing.
Yeah. That's the yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. It
I think maybe like just theorizing now. I think Danielson will obviously beat Nigel, but I think when it comes down to it, maybe the storyline is Nigel holds even more resentment from that, and then during his final match, whoever his competitor will be, it won't be Nigel, but Nigel will contribute towards the
mm,
ending. Or maybe it's more like a feel good moment and Nigel like helps him up at the end and he goes out with
maybe.
like Nigel at World's End, like holding his hand, and they're finally burying the hatchet. Sorry, guys, I'm just writing fan fiction over here. I am Tony Khan.
And then they kiss.
And then they fuck. Moving on. Next is Hook. Oh God, love your Hook, but Jesus Christ, and he respects Roddy and he calls him out. Clap if you can. That now we're getting into the main event. Sorry, some of this I've just had to absolutely brush past because I can't. I'll actually
I
the
didn't
color is
even
leaving my face. I'm
yeah.
getting depressed talking about this.
I didn't even really process what Hook said. I was like, Roddy, okay. Forget about that swiftly and move on.
Yeah. So we got the casino battle royale. It's had a number of tag teams. Young Bucks came out and they sat on the entrance. FTR came out, interrupted them. Um, so the teams I'll just run down. We had FTR, Osprey and Kyle, The Righteous, Undisputed Kingdom, The Acclaimed, Mason and Mansoor, Top Flight, The Outrunners, uh, and the Grizzled Young Vet. So one of my big takeaways was this really exposed just how thin the tag division was.
Yeah.
Sorry, or is like the hype that people had. I found it quite cringe. Like people, it's just like wrestling call and response. Pavlov's dog. Like you put up a fucking 10-second countdown, motherfuckers are gonna be hyped. It
Yeah.
doesn't even matter. But then for the people that came out, it's like, oh, like there is only like four reputable tag teams. And of those four, they're crammed down my throat every week, and I see them weekly anyway. There's not really that much of a special occasion to see him. And then it's just a bunch of other people who I think they're good wrestlers. And I think like deserve this opportunity, for sure. And it's like, if the division's thin, how do you rebuild it without pushing new people? Um,
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. But I just found it quite exposing.
Yeah, definitely. And especially the lack of reaction from the crowd for most of it was really like nearly dead silent. Um, So yeah, I mean, that's really glaring after the 10-second countdown, even more so than it would be in like a normal sort of match. So I completely agree with you. I do wonder like why weren't Private Party in this? Considering how like obviously they had a thing earlier in the show. Why were they in that segment? That was very inconsequential for them. Why weren't they in this instead? I'm not saying that would have made this match better. But it's just like that's just another maybe more recognizable, reputable tag team to add to the mix than the people we ended up with. Yeah.
And then the fact that the team that won isn't even like a tag team, it's just two people that are thrown together. So the
Mm-hmm.
whole objective for me in this battle royale is to expose your underexposed tag teams and try to build a bit of momentum up behind them. But then you kind of undid that by having Kyle Fletcher and Osprey win. I get it, like it's in Australia, you want Kyle Fletcher, Aussie, like you want that vibe, but it just felt really like I don't know, just what you might have gotten more out of it if you'd have actually let the Outrunners win.
Yeah,
The crowd are behind them, and then you're actually going to
100%.
build up a fresher tag team that hasn't been exposed on Dynamite as much. Um, and then there's just like weird parts, like Grizzly Young Vets and FTR have got a match on Collision this weekend, and then they're brawling up the ramp, and then they just leave the match, which it doesn't make any sense in kayfabe because why is their blood feud really that hot that the FTR are going to give up their shot at the world title?
And
At the tag
yeah,
titles. It makes no sense. Like for the Grizzly Young Vets, yeah, it makes sense. Like they want to earn their reputation and they probably know they're not ready to step up to the tag title, so they'll go after FTR and da da da. But like for FTR as like a veteran tag team, you're telling me that in kayfabe they do that? Like what?
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think the only sort of shining light in this tag division is the grizzled young veterans hopefully going on to be really good. And thus I'm clinging on to that hope that something's going to come out of this, something good. But the fact that this non-tag team won this match, like you said, it really does sort of expose the tag division, how weak it is. Like no one else was really a viable competitor in this match. Apparently, like if we think about it in kayfabe terms, I guess they got beaten by this non-tag team. I think that yeah, having the Outrunners win would have been way better.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because I think logically the trios title has more cooler teams going after it.
Yeah,
House of Black, um, I don't even like House Black, but you know what I mean? House of Black, Patriarchy, Bang Bang Gang, even the Acclaimed you can get involved, Billy Gunn. Like, there's more popping with that. Even like Top Flight can act as like a trios, but then you fucked yourself because, as I mentioned, those four tags. You got the Acclaimed, Bucks, FTR. What do you do with these people? Because they are tags,
yeah,
um, and like FTR, how are you going to make them a trio? They're not single stars. They have to wrestle in tag wrestling.
yeah,
So you can't get rid of that belt.
yeah.
Um, Even though it's the weaker of the tag and the trio. Um,
It's basically the FTR and Young Bucks division, isn't it? The tag team division.
yeah, it's it's just yeah. The match had some fun moments. I liked the massive to the Shatter Machine. Osprey and Dante had a little moment. Uh, Manso suplexing into the masses of bodies. That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
The match finished with Kyle Fletcher blocking Dante's crossover. Osprey came out of nowhere with a hidden blade. Mansoor tried to make the save, but he was pinned down by Osprey, and that enabled him to secure the victory. But I don't know whether like even because there was that many people in there, whether it even did the job of even exposing these bottom line, at least, I can't be asked with Leo Rush, but at least I can say, oh, he had a good wrestling match. But I'm just
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's some fun spots, but individually, who stood out the most in this? Osprey and Fletcher, and I get that they won in that, but I don't feel like people really got even time to like have the identity of their team go over or anything. So it just the only other standout is like obviously the Outrunners and the huge pop that they got.
Yeah, hopefully that's gonna. Hopefully people were paying attention to that, like people in the back, and they're gonna do something with that, drive that forward a bit, capitalize on that.
I mean, I'd rather see an Outrunners and FTR feud than Grizzled Young Vets and FTR. I
Yeah,
don't really care for them.
yeah,
They do nothing for me. Um, but yeah, it's just really hard to believe that this is the post All Out show.
yeah, right.
Um, it's so hard to believe. Um, like I say, I'm sure like a lot of them are on. I mean, some of them are on break for an undetermined amount of time, MJF and Swerve. But
I think this show really what was glaring to me was like it suffered without MJF. Like, I really missed him. I was like, where's
yeah,
Max?
I don't know when he's coming back either. But just just yeah,
This
it felt like we were slipping into a lot of bad habits as well. A lot of bad habits that we kind of have
we thought we were in the past.
I just hope that this is just a reflection of like maybe a bit of fatigue.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what
sure
I
putting
think.
on All Out and All In was even for Tony Khan booking and writing it and everyone that's working and producing the matches and the wrestlers themselves. I'm sure it was like a lot, and then to go straight back into weekly programming, it is a lot. So I'm
Of
just hoping
course.
that that's the case and that the criticisms that people have this week will be listened to. And it isn't like at all, like if you're new here, it's not like AEW bad. We hate AEW. We do this podcast because we love AEW. We
Yeah.
review it weekly, and the criticisms that we have are personal to to the weekly like things that we see every week. And then
Yeah, we
because of
take
that,
it as it is, don't we? And we also consider what's come before. And it's like, does it make sense from what we've already seen? Is this continuing? It's not, we don't take each episode in pure isolation. But at the same time, we take it at face value. Like, was this episode good or not? Or what did we not like about it? That, yeah, exactly. It's just our thoughts. And usually, for a long time, we do a rating out of 10, but it's been really high recently. I think that's why that it makes this seem even worse is because it's been really good recently, and you get this sort of steep downfall. But I do agree with what you said. I think it's probably because we're in the immediate fallout of two massive pay-per-views. And if this felt a bit rushed to me, I think maybe there wasn't the long-term thinking past. Not that there's not long-term thinking, but just like the little details of what we're gonna do on that Dynamite. And I don't think maybe that was thought through, and that's maybe
yeah.
this episode was a result of that.
But I don't know if it's like the old WWE fan in me that's been conditioned that after like WrestleMania, the Raw after WrestleMania, it's like a huge deal.
Yeah,
And so I'm like after a big pay-per-view, like I'm always excited to watch the weekly show because I'm always expecting to see the fallout. So
good.
like
Yeah,
that's just how like I've been conditioned.
that's so true. And again, that's probably why it made this seem really bad. Is because like your expectations are pretty high for that post show.
For me, the show was a 2 out of 10.
Oh,
It
that's
was so bad.
really low.
Like 1 point for the Takeshita being featured, uh, and a second point for booking the Nigel spot. Do you know what? I'll give it an extra point for the Darby Mock stuff because even though it was shit, there's still some
Mm.
good intrigue there. 3 out of 10. I, I, everything else other than that was shite. It was shite. There wasn't even like a good wrestling match this episode. Like I know some people are gonna argue Ricochet, Sammy Guevara, but lads, I can't do it with Sammy Guevara. Like I genuinely cannot handle that man. Like he just brings out a rage in me, an inhuman. I think in like a past life, we like he shot me on a battlefield or something. Like I can't deal with him. So for me, like if you have anything else that you think was redeeming about the show, please share.
Well, you said that, and I thought it was really harsh, but you've just named probably the three things, and I feel like was there something else? I don't know, and I don't even think there was anything else. To be honest, I mean, the women's match wasn't a squash match, but fuck me, the bar's in hell. So, no, you know what? 3, yeah, we'll go with it.
3 out of 10.
Out
This
of
might
10.
be the worst Dynamite of the year when we do our end of year awards.
Yes, yeah,
Who knows? Can we
could
sink
be.
lower?
Hope not. I
But it's
really
fun.
hope not.
It's a laugh, innit? Like, you know what? I was actually quite looking forward to reviewing this because I love a good rant. I love a good moan.
We
Sometimes it's fun to be negative.
You can't be
Like,
positive all the time.
Yeah,
You gotta get this shit off your chest.
That's a certain type of AEW fan that pisses me off. Is like they just cannot criticize the product at all, and it's like it's okay to criticize things. It's perfectly okay to criticize things.
Exactly.
Like, there's a way to criticize things, and if like you just like, it's just I just think that toxic positivity is not good for the product, and it's not good
Yeah.
for furthering the growth. If you just like a yes man to everything they do. I fucking love AEW. Been a fan since like before it even was conceived. Like been following these lads and lasses for a very long time. So yeah, but I just know like there's just like people that probably watch this and like, why is everyone being so mean? And it's like, oh God, like just please,
be serious. Get your head out of Tony's ass for 1 second.
Real. Like, if you're defending shite like Learning Tree, like
it was just a struggle for me to sit and watch this and be invested without sort of getting distracted with other things because it dragged on and I was like, I don't care about any of this. Yeah, and I totally agree with you. It's no use just being like, it was good. No, really, guys, it was good. You just you're just not seeing it right. You just
AEW's not going to die. Yeah. Just because you criticise an episode. AEW's not going to go under.
Yeah, and, you're not going to get taken seriously by maybe, like, I don't know, AEW haters if all you're doing is bigging it up all the time. Like,
yeah, wanking off Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Like,
he's not going to shag your love. You know what I mean? It's just...
Get me on that booking team. Right. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's episode. But
yeah, I want to know what...
The Jim Cornette episode, we'll call it. In our Jim Cornette era.
Yeah, and as well, like, it's not... Sometimes you just, like we said, you need to be... We just have to be honest about what we've seen, and we're not going to be positive for the sake of it, but we're also negative. I don't think we're ever negative for the sake of it either. It's genuinely just our opinion. So I'm interested to hear what other people think. Like, what would other people have scored out of 10? Were we a bit harsh? Or were we generous?
Probably, but yeah, let us know. Let us know your thoughts, feelings. I think like the main takeaways are the mock storyline, and the tag division. For me, those were the main two big talking points. So I'd be really interested to know what people think about that.
Yeah, definitely me too. So yeah, be sure to leave a comment, and if you're not already subscribed or following, please do that, and leave us a like and a rate, and tell all your friends. We really appreciate all the support. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
I must bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night, bad.
I wish you died in the womb!